And now that I'm much older, I realize I was never really lonely. And there was always people around me in my life, my family and friends that I could have reached out and build a relationship with.
My name is Ashanti, and welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast, where men get real. A space where men talk about the masks that we feel forced to wear. The front of the mask are the things that we gladly let the world see, and the back of the mask, the things that we don't talk much about. Today's episode is our face-to-face episode with Wenceslao, and his guest today is Jordan Barragan Placarte. So excited to have Jordan. Jordan was one of our interns this summer, supporting the Everforward Club, the Million Mask Movement, our SELA program that had a pivot this summer. And so you're going to get to hear from these two in this conversation. I don't know the first time they met, but I know they did meet at one of our pop-ups at Starbucks. So lots of intersectionality happening this summer with young men in the program, with our interns. And I think that today's conversation is going to really hit a spot. Well, maybe not. Let me say it this way. Did you have a mentor growing up? Did you have a older, young person in your life? Now, Wenceslao is a sophomore in high school. Jordan is a senior in college. So let's say they're about 6 years apart. I mean, that's a pretty close connection to somebody to really learn from, to really learn about what they've been through in their journey. And they're still young enough to kind of understand what you're maybe going through. And they're not too old to like miss out on some of the lingo. But man, what a powerful conversation. There's one part in the conversation that I really took to think about deeply is Jordan was reflecting on when he was younger. And at that time when he was younger, he talked about being alone, feeling lonely. And as an adult, as he looked back, he says, well, man, I actually wasn't really that lonely. I just didn't really notice that the people around me were offering support. And I think it was really beautiful for Wenceslao to really take on that understanding of like, oh, maybe sometimes we actually just miss out on how many people are actually here for us or offering us support. But if we're in our heads all the time, if we're constantly got the noise box moving in our ears, we may even miss the fact that people have been asking us, trying to connect with us. Think about yourself. Think about your journey. Think about your mask. What mask you have to wear? Have you reached out? Have people been reaching out to you to ask, do you want help? Do you need support? Did you accept that support? Did you want that support? Maybe you didn't trust that support. All the ways that we show up in the world are all these building blocks of our lives. And so in these conversations, we get to come together, hearing from men all over the world, from all ages, all backgrounds, about these masks that we wear. So, another thing I want to name in this context of where we are in this season of Everforward, but also in the Million Mask Movement, is the movement is growing. Wenceslao is going to be able to go with us pretty soon to Washington, D.C. to receive an award that we are receiving. And I'm super excited for him and his journey. If you've been listening to this episode or this podcast for a while, you've heard him from his first episode, the beginning of the year, until today. You are hearing a transformation happen in the life of a young person. There's another young person who I just got a phone call from who has been going through a lot of challenge over the last 3 years. I've known Wenceslao for about 3 years. And man, the journey of this young man who called, who has been through some tough times, who's been finding himself in and out of incarceration, a lot can happen in 3 years. A lot can transform in our lives in less than 3 years, but in 3 years, we can move from a place of not knowing our voice, not knowing who we are, not knowing what our goals and dreams are, to a place of saying, I am clear about where I'm heading. I hope that for you. I hope that for the young people and even adults in your community. That's what the Million Mask Movement is about. One mask, one picture, 6 words of self-reflection. We hope that this conversation will inspire you. School just got back in session. Wenceslao is back in school now. So, you're going to hear from his episodes once a month, but he's back into a system of being really busy. Maybe you have young people in your life, maybe cousins, nephews, uncles, however the family connects, community, youth. Our youth need our support more than ever. And sometimes they are in their heads or locked into these devices as if nothing matters in the world. But guess what? What if they were just trying to keep themselves busy because the silence of nobody seeing them or understanding that they can be seen or heard and understood is so deafening. So I invite you, call somebody this week. Somebody in your life. Maybe you've already made a mask. Maybe you can invite them to make a mask. And maybe then have a conversation about that mask. Maybe you haven't yet made a mask either. So asking them to make one would be like kind of not fair, not cool, right? Well, you should make one. I don't really want to make one, but you should make one. Maybe you could do one first, and then you invite them from a place of, I want to share something with you that I learned, something with it that I felt, something with you that means something to me. Thank you for being a part of this movement with us. Thank you for being a part of the Taking Off the Mask podcast, the Million Mask Movement, the Everforward Club. And we couldn't do this without you. There's a lot of really exciting things happening on the horizon. We'll be sharing some of it with you next week. And I'm looking forward to you continuing to be a part of this journey ahead. We'll see you soon, folks. Enjoy today's episode with Wenceslao and Jordan Barragan Placarte. Bye now.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Everforward Club. I'm Wenceslao Soto, and today I am here with...
Hello, I'm Jordan Barragan. I've been a part of the Everforward Club for about a year and a half, I believe so. Started with the little 5K event, and now I'm finally working for it.
All right, Jordan, thank you for being here. I'm excited. So Jordan, for the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do the mask, and then for the people who don't know, the mask is where you draw a mask or write words, and then you draw the front of the mask is where you write things that you let people see, and then the back of the mask is what you normally hide and don't feel comfortable showing. So Jordan, we're gonna take a few moments to
And then for anybody watching this later, if you do hear noise in the background, it's because I am at my university at the moment, so there is people walking around in the little lounge area. Also, Wenceslao, I know you told me to take something out to write. I'm gonna write it here in my little notebook. Hopefully, you good.
All right, you ready, or am I gonna take another time?
No, I've been ready. I'm good now.
All right. So how do you want to do it? You want to both share the front, or you want to one person do the front back and the other person do the front back? How do you want to do it?
I guess I'll go first then.
All right.
All right. So I'll give a little glimpse of what the front of the mask is. I also did write, the three qualities that I like to let people see. So, boom. A little demonstration, not the best writing, but it's there. All right, now I'm gonna read what I put because I can't read, backwards. So I put, I'm always energetic, got a smile on my face, and I'm funny. Those are typically the three qualities that I like to show to people, and those are literally the three qualities that people usually like to tell them, say to me. They're like, Jordan, you always bring me in a good mood. You're always happy. You always, you always know how to set the crowd. Set the crowd up. I always got a smile on my face, and I always like to try, crack jokes and make other people feel good.
Okay.
And then I could go on with the back of the mask, right?
Yeah.
All right, the back of the mask it's a little longer. It's a little longer with the sentences. But you know how the front of the mask had a little smile and a sparkling. For the back of the mask, I made my guy a little bit, it relates to what I put. His eyes are a little foggy, like he's clouded, like his mind's clouded. Or I guess his view's clouded, more like it. But anyway, so it's a little deep, Let's get personal. Let's share. So I put, I'm stressing out about my career path. I feel like I'm going to fail. So sometimes I think that in the path that I'm in, maybe I think that maybe I'm not good enough sometimes. Maybe that's it. But I shouldn't be thinking that way. Everybody's path in life is not linear, and there's some bumps in the roads, and that's gonna happen. And then I also put, I overthink that maybe people prefer me not being in a room. This is a little odd, of like always me wanting to be accepted. And then the last one is, I'm making mistakes and choices that I believe are good for me, which is like maybe it's maybe it's not the smart thing that I don't know that I'm maybe. This is probably Alex. Maybe it's not smart that I'm doing a research group in my school, but I think I'm just overthinking that. I think I'm making the right decision, but sometimes just little decisions that I make throughout the day or my life, I think maybe are they good for me? Are they advancing me? But yeah, that's pretty much my front and the back of the mask.
Thank you.
All right, Wenceslao. course, man.
So the front of the mask, I just draw like a little circle. I put bravery. You know, these are like qualities that I began realizing that I've been doing or having is bravery. I've had a lot more bravery to do more things, and then also be a risk taker, which is in here as well. And then I'm compassionate of the things like hobbies I have. You know, I'm really compassionate of those, or things I like to like sports I like to watch, or I like to do. And then for the back of the mask, I drew like a little helmet, like a Formula One
Mm-hmm.
helmet. As you know, I love Formula
Yeah,
One.
nice.
I put number 11, Lewis Hamilton. And then I put shy around people. That's a thing I need to overcome is when I meet new people is not being shy, or at least not showing that I'm shy. And then I put lost in what I love because, I'm in high school now, I'm sophomore this year, and I think, you're closer to going to college or university, and you need to know what you want to do. And I put memories absorb me. Feel that things you do wrong in your life is like say like teach you a lesson. But sometimes I feel that those memories absorb me, and I'm still like I might avoid doing the thing I did wrong before, but I'm still
Mm-hmm.
like I guess hurt or like a scar on me from the past,
Mm-hmm.
from the things I did wrong in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Thanks for sharing with Islam, man. You're not alone in that feeling, man. It's okay.
Thank you. So now we're gonna do the card game.
Okay, I'm excited.
And for the people who don't know, this card game is where you have different destinations and save different people by answering questions and having points. But we're just gonna do the questions, like a few questions. We're gonna do it,
Okay.
and I got questions for you after. So, would you like me to go first, or you want to go first?
You go ahead on this one.
Pick a random card. This one says, "What can you start right now in your life to become a better person?" I think connecting or making sure that people around me are doing okay. I guess before I used to just I didn't check on them a lot, I guess you could say, and I would always like ask them to do things for me, but I never thought about them and maybe things they struggle with. And I lost a few friendships because of that, but I gained some few after that. But I think to become what I've been improving is checking on other people to make sure they're doing okay, and I don't lose friendship with them. I got 6 cards in front of me facing down. Just pick a number between 1 and 6.
Ooh, which is my favorite number at the moment? Let me see. Let me get 4. I'm feeling 4 right now.
4. Card says, "What is something you have wanted to do in your life but you don't talk about?"
All right, I got one. I got one. So, you know, when I was younger, maybe probably about your age, maybe a little bit older, I used to always like want to at least try to like explore the world. And always things that come to mind is like, you could always say Europe. That's something I wouldn't talk about. Spain and like Italy. And I would always want to like other visit like other countries like Japan, maybe China. But I rarely talk about that with my friends or family because not only am I like interested in knowing like the culture wise, I was also a little bit of a bit of a history nerd. Like if I see an old like ancient like sculpture or like a building, I would like want to know like the history of it, the background behind it, what happened, what empires came, and what went on, and why it's still here. It's something that like I really don't talk about with people. I rarely, I think, talk about with people about like, yeah, I want to travel the world. Once I graduate, really don't say that. I just say is that, yeah, I'm taking a gap year. Yeah, that's one thing with Islam.
So, thank you for sharing. I got a book here, The Call of the Prophet, which I usually talk with the guests. And it's about this prophet who gets asked like many to talk about many things, right? Like freedom, love, marriage, children. And this one says about talks about self-knowledge. And I'm just gonna read a few. He says, "Your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and the nights, but your ears thirst for the sounds of your heart's knowledge. You would know in words that which you have always known in thought. You would touch with your fingers the naked body of your dreams. And it is well you should. The hidden wellspring of your soul must need rise and run murmuring to the sea, and the treasure of your infinite depths would be revealed to your eyes, but let there be no scale to your way, your unknown treasure." Which for me, that would say that you, like, as how I interpret this part of the poem is that the treasure for me would be like having this knowledge and having like curiosity, right? And then for me, I need, but your ears thirst for the sound of your heart's knowledge. For me, it's like I'm curious about something, and I, you know, what I do like doing is learning about stuff, right? I take in knowledge, and that's the thing I like to do. And for me, that quote is saying that, if you're curious of something, learn about it, and then your treasure can be having knowledge about something, or maybe using that knowledge in future occasions.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the quote says to me.
What are you hungry to learn then, if you don't mind me asking?
About different things I like to learn about history, people, cultures, sports, and then things that can impact me as well, good and bad way.
Yeah, and then would it be a little bit of aerodynamics in Formula One?
Yeah.
I was gonna make a little tease earlier in the call. I'll be like Red Bull, but you know what? I should have brought a drink, so I.
All right, we're gonna do a few more.
Hey, thanks for sharing that quote. I liked it. I was gonna ask if you could like maybe send me the quote or just send me a picture of it later.
All right. Yeah, I like the book Prophet. It really talks about things that you don't normally think about, and then after I read the whole book, I just started thinking about the quotes, especially in the poem about children. I think that one's the most impactful one.
The one about children, yeah. You have to tell me because I don't know that. I haven't heard that quote. How does it go?
Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for the souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backwards, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the balance from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees a mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. For even as he loves the arrows that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable.
I like that quote. I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Is that one of your favorite ones?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, that one's like pretty deep.
Yeah. We're gonna do a few more questions, and then I got questions for you.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Pick a card. This card says, "Tell us a time when you realize you're becoming an adult."
That's for you, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not an adult yet, but getting older.
Yep.
I guess besides me going to high school, I'm realizing more. Oh shoot, I'm in high school. I'm like a teenager. But I think is how much responsibilities you have. Once you're getting older, you start having more responsibilities, being more mature, I guess you can say. Still have fun, but now that you're older, you gotta be more mature. And also, I think the things you do now, right? You got so much work from school or from the Everforward Club or outside like extracurriculars like I do. Yeah, I think that throughout the years you start realizing how much work you have to do, and then that you're not a child anymore. You're just growing. I got 6 cards in front of me. You can pick the same number if you want.
Let me get 2 on that one.
2. How much information do you need before you believe something someone says?
I don't know. It kind of depends on the person, I should say. If the person is a good friend and he's a pretty reliable person, then like typically anything they do, anything they say, you typically believe. And then sometimes, they get a little wonky with some information, then you could have it for the grain of salt. But typically, most of the things you take, with, conviction, like it's the truth. But once you meet someone that's like, you can kind of see in the way, like they say, actions speak louder than words. You could kind of see if it's true the way they when they say something. So, like for example, if it's probably should not say an example, but like, say you're like talking to someone, and you're like, just becoming friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's going well, and then out of nowhere, they like tell you a certain story. They say it, and then the next day, like another week, they say like the same story, but they change it up like a lot. And then that's when you start. But like started taking the things they say for a grain of salt.
So let's say like your parents tell you something, right, that they believe,
Mm-hmm.
but so much other people tell you the opposite thing. Like, who do you start believing there?
But that one could be a lot of things. For one of my things, I'm gonna say like maybe religious wise, your parents might say something else, another person might say something else. It's between what they believe in. But if it usually is for like something that's more about informational wise, that's more congruent and logical, like you could actually get on the internet, then typically I would say someone tells me, my parents tell me that, and then a certain person tells me that. Or if my dad says something about like the workforce and how it might be, then I might believe it more. But if someone's telling me more about like, what should I say, something scientific, then I might believe the other person if they're like a scientist or a professor.
All right. We'll do one more, and I got a question for you.
Let's go.
Card says, name something that you could do to improve your life. What's stopping you? I guess is being more organized. Just something. Usually I'm disorganized. My room is messy right now. But I think that to improve my life is being more organized. So I have my lists, schedules, so I'm not stressing out a lot, and therefore I can be more relaxed while I'm doing these things. I guess just being organized.
Yeah, I felt that. It's like I gotta clean my house, or I gotta clean the things that I know right now, so then I don't have to worry about later, and I'm not thinking about it, so my head's like not really much of a mess. So I can put more time and effort onto that.
Yeah. I pick a number between 1 and 6. The last one.
1 to 6, 1 to 6. All right, like, give me 6. You go with the big number.
Does the image you have of yourself match the image others have of you?
Why you give me? Can I pick another number, man? I'm just joking. I'll stick with that one. I don't know on that one. I don't know. My good friends, like my best friends, their image of me is probably the one that I want them. That's the one I believe. But when it comes to people that I've like met in my life, for the most part, yeah, I do believe so.
If like someone says like a quality about you, do you think that would match a quality that you actually see in yourself that you have, like not just in front of the mask?
I believe so. I know, like the one in front of the mask that I said. Usually, people give me that, but typically the qualities that I like to show to others is the ones that people usually believe. Sometimes when we have like icebreakers in my work, they say like, "Oh, what are some things that we have like an anonymous note and put what people like think of you," and they put like, "Oh, he's always nice. It's always nice to He's always there when you want to talk about something. He always puts the room in a good mood. He's energetic, and then some people put like, "Oh, he's smart," and it's like, It's typically the things that I like to show out, and that's what I'm like. Yeah, it's just pretty much a good representation of what I am internally.
All right. Thank you for sharing. So now I got some questions for you.
I'm excited.
So you're in school. You say you go work with your dad. You've been a beer with this club. You're how old are you? Like in your mid-20s, right?
I am 22 right now.
So
Mid-20s? Come on, Wenceslao. Come on, man.
you're in your 20s, and my first question is: as a teenager in your 20s or 22, can you share your experiences of how the figurative mask has evolved throughout your high school, college years?
It's evolved a lot. When I was in high school, I was always in my head. And my friend of the mask, I would say, would be that I like to say that I was funny,
Mm-hmm.
but I was really just quiet, and I was stick to myself. And my back of the mask would be probably like completely insecure, don't know what I want to do with my life, and like another part is like I don't. It's not too deep. It's like I don't want to. I don't want to be here. At the moment I was like I don't want to be in here in this high school because at the moment I was really not. I would like not try too much at anything. I had a older brother that was my influence. I was kind of following his footsteps of like not trying in high school, even though I was doing very well. Then I went to college, my first semester for like my whole year from graduation to the first year and semester. I was trying to, I guess my friend of the mass would be still, I think that's when I started like pretty charismatic, outgoing, because that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to kind of be the things that I wasn't in high school. In the back of the mask would be like, don't know what I'm doing. It's I like I was in East Bay at the moment. I was like, I don't know if I want to be in college. Like, probably should have went to community college or take a gap year or something just to figure out what I want to do. But my parents were persistent. Like, stay in East Bay, do this, do that. And that was probably the biggest character growth that I had in like my whole time. Because at the moment I was like, all right, I've never really tried in high school. I kind of just went with like grades that I thought were acceptable. So I was like, let me try in classes. So first semester I really didn't do it. I was being too like outgoing, trying to make friends. But then after that, the rest of my years, I was excelling in all my GPAs. I was like, I'm trying to do good. At the moment, I might not know what I want to do in my life, but at least if I have good GPA and I decide to do schooling afterwards, then I'm set. And I switched my major. Did not want to do that when I switched it twice. And on my whole life of college, I was just trying to discover what I wanted to do with my career choices. And now that I'm here, I'm 22 years old. I'm sitting with you, Wenceslao, and we already discussed my back of the mask and my front of the mask. And the only things that have changed so far, as I've changed completely from high school now, is that I remember I used to feel very lonely in high school, and now that I'm much older, I realize I was never really lonely. And there was always people around me in my life, my family and friends that I could have reached out and build a relationship with. Like one thing that I like to know in the beginning that you were saying, like, oh, like sometimes I make friends, like I should reach out, talk to people, get close to them. You lose some people, you gain some people, and that's what my experience in life was. And that's okay. Sometimes people aren't gonna like you for who you are. Sometimes you just can't click with people, and that's completely understandable. And then I realized that I do have a passion for some things, and I do excel in certain things that other people do excel with, typically like science. I never had like chemistry class in high school. First time I took it in college, I did really well, and I was like, oh, maybe I do have a niche for that. I've always did like top of my grades for a class, and I guess one thing I had different from high school and beginning of college was I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I had a friend of mine. She came up to me and she went, "Hey Jordan, would you want to volunteer with me in the hospital And I was like, I don't know, like I don't know like what to do. She's like, no worries, like we just interpreter for like the patients or nurses. It's just Spanish to English. It's easy. It's like you speak better Spanish than me. Like I'm pretty sure you excel and you're pretty easy to talk to. Like we're pretty easy to talk to people. And I was like, whatever, I'll do it. So I did a couple of those volunteering events. I did a hospital, doing pre-op and post-op, talking to the people there, getting to know them, talking to the like symptoms, making sure they follow the procedures that the nurses and the doctors set out for them. And I guess at that moment, I was really figuring out maybe this is what I want to do with my life. Maybe I do want to help out people. And one thing that I ended up joining is the Everforward Club. Ashanti came up to me while I was volunteering at one graduation, and he was like, "Hey, we're doing this program for like young adults, like young boys, adolescent boys, try to make them feel more comfortable in their, in their mask, in their feelings." So I saw the paper, and usually I was at the moment I was like I usually just avoided any time like opportunities came to me. So I was like, you know what, this is time for me to make a change. And I, looked up on the internet what he does. I got in contact with him. I called him, and I realized, you know what, this is maybe something I wish I had when I was younger. Because I feel like I was just too much in my own head. I feel like I didn't have enough comfortable space. Even like my friends at the moment, I feel like we were just weren't comfortable expressing ourselves. And I was like, I would love to make a change. I would love to create that space to like you, Wenceslao, to another kid. I would appreciate that. At least for a kid, if there's a kid that I could already tell that is already set in life, maybe he already figured out for the most part, but he just isn't comfortable in his own emotions. At least I could be there, and I could be there also for the kid that's like completely lost, isn't comfortable with himself, or doesn't even know what he wants to do with his life. I want to also be there for that person and say that he is being heard. I want to give back to back in my community to things that weren't given to me at the moment. Maybe they were, but I just didn't realize it. Or things that that were given to me, and I want to give it back to my community. And so that's I want to make a change, pretty much.
Yeah, thank you. I feel that most people, most of us have been through that experience that, you kind of isolate yourself. You don't, realize how much, you're in your head for too long. You don't realize how much people are offering to help you, or there's so much things you can do to, how should I say, like escape the isolation and, being free, I guess you could say. And I feel that, me also being part of this club also helped me a lot in isolation, I guess. I was in middle school, private middle school, and I had good friends, but I still like wouldn't talk a lot. I had that many friends, but I would just like hang out with like one or two till the head principal of my middle school, we're friends with Ashanti, and he recommended me this, and then now on my high school, I'm friends with like almost like 80% of the school. Hang
Mm-hmm.
out with like seniors, juniors, a few sophomores, and I feel that this club really helps you spread your wings and not feeling isolated or captured inside. My other question is, how has being part of the Everforward Club influenced your understanding of authenticity and the mask we wear in different areas of our lives?
Well, for being part of this program and going through the whole making meaning mass movement and going through workshops from different age groups, from adolescent boys like elementary, middle school kids, high school kids, even adults. It really puts into perspective of like one of the things we like to promote is that we create a safe space where we can express ourselves. And once we do that, express ourselves, it creates in a way that we could really just trust each other, knowing that, hey, I didn't put something completely that was a lie in that paper. I put my whole heart and soul in it. Like you could trust me now, and I'm willing to what you also put. And I guess this whole authenticity thing, like experiencing in this, it makes me also, when I go out in my daily life, it makes me realize we're all just kind of dealing with the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no reason to put this like fake mask about yourself or mask what you're going through. And it really makes you like open up to people and be more authentic. And I also feel like once I started realizing that other people were pretty much just doing the same thing. It's like they deal with other things in their life, but when they're with you, when they're like, I made my way and effort just to be with you, like actually talk to you. It makes me really not be in my head of being like, oh, maybe they don't enjoy me being here. Maybe they're much more set in their life. It makes me become more of an authentic person. And I feel like they themselves are also. Yeah, that's a big question to answer. That's a pretty big one. You had me thinking, Wenceslao. More than I'm thinking in my classes. When I'm not in the class, but my research. God dang it.
All right. Other question is: has there been any mentors or role models in your life who have encouraged you to be authentic and embrace vulnerability, both in the Everforward Club and beyond?
So Everforward Club, I got pretty much all of you boys. Seeing you guys makes me like you guys inspire me to be like, go on my life, keep doing what I'm doing, helping out. Especially Ashanti, Parth, and Javon. They always make me realize like, dang, I want to be what they are, like parts of them. One part is so creative. He knows how to rally a team together and facilitate us to work together. And part of freaking Ashanti is just a good leader to knowing like to set out goals, what we need to do. And Javon, like asking questions, curiosity. I like that. Everything about it. Just a good functioning team. I want to take parts of that and just improve on it. Good listener. And then in terms of people I could look out to in terms of my life, my father is a big thing. He's just he's like they say like a stoic. He's just there. He's always like he's the stone of the family, always keeping us there. He's maybe sometimes things he does isn't easy. He does construction isn't easy. I aspire to be like that. Like sometimes it's if I see she sees me sometimes she sees that I'm like thinking. She asks me questions like, "Hey, are you okay? What's going on?" Like you could always, I'm here to talk to you. Like sometimes I wish that I could do that for other people. Some qualities that I just want to take, some inspirations, and then even my friends. Sometimes I see they're just so chillax and they're getting their life together. They didn't even like my friend. We're pretty much going through the same thing. Like he's getting a big boy job. He says because he's graduating soon. He's like, dang, I'm already getting like a big boy job. They want me to be in this like managerial position. It's like he's going through things, and it almost feels like I'm going through with him, and I'm just there. Like if he wants to open up, sometimes, yeah. I guess traits that I could. There's just so many traits that I could like. I guess just everybody in my life has always influenced me to like be a better person.
So, my last question is, what advice would you give to other teenagers or young adults who may be struggling with the pressure to conform or wear a figurative mask in their personal and professional lives?
All right. One thing I'd say is, of course, reach out to Shanti, the Everforward. It'd help a lot do that. But sometimes, a kid won't be able to get in contact with a person like that. Maybe one of your really good friends is one of the first things I started to do. Maybe I don't know, it might work. It's just talking to your friends around your family, being like, "Hey, like, do you happen to feel the same way about life that I do?" And that's like one way to make you feel like, "Hey, I'm not alone in my life with this." Another thing is going out of your way to get resources, like maybe even talking to your professor. That could go a long way. Professor might hook you up, tell you like, "Hey, there's this program that you could do." Another thing is going out and reaching out to your parents. Hopefully that you feel safe enough to conform to them and say how you feel. And if not, maybe do some internet searches. Maybe go to like a 24-hour like hotline if there's one to just talk about your emotions. There's some people that are professionals that are just there for you if you ever need to reach out, or maybe join some group activities, join a sport, get some commodity. You know, they say like physical health is pretty much helps you out with your mental health. Get into hobbies, get into things you like. Don't be stuck in your head. Because if you're just stuck in your head, that's not. And contemplate sometimes. Contemplate in your life of what you want to do, so that then you could start building your plan to go forward. Like, oh, I'm not like happy with the way I am right now. Why? Well, what can I do? Do I need friends? And make that move. Go join a club. It's, I guess just don't be in your head. Don't be by yourself. Is go out in the world and and get out your like safe circle. Go out there and reach out to resources, older adults or friend, in which you could create safe spaces to express yourself and how you are feeling. There's just so many answers to this question. It's it's a really big one.
All right. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
That was all the questions I have. You got something you want to ask me questions? You want to talk about something now?
I don't know what's this like. Would you want any advice on college? Any life on life as a? Because I'm like, how much older than you? Like 7, 6 years?
Well, I'm 15, turning 16.
Oh yeah, 7 years.
Did you always know where to go in college, or like what do you want to study?
No, not at all. It was like when I was in year like when I was 18, 17, like even 15. I didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life. I was kind of lost. I did not know. I was just in my head. And even when I entered college, like when I went to East Bay, at least when I was applying to colleges, I was like, that's one of the, I wasn't even thinking about it on top of my head. But my parents were like, just go. I was like, oh, maybe I could just do community college and I could transfer out. Because I did not know what I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to go somewhere else, like, I don't know, Sonoma, Chico, somewhere like Long Beach, somewhere that wasn't around here. And then my parents were like, just go to East Bay. Like, I had the privilege of them, like, hey, we'll pay for your schooling. And I was like, oh, okay. And even in like college, I was just still completely lost for my first year, like in wanting to do. My parents were like, just do construction management. At the moment, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I kind of did like doing something to the body, switched to kinesiology. And then I was like, I do like it, but like I want to expand more than just isn't just on working out. Like maybe what goes in the body. And then I switched to science. But I guess I just say is don't worry about life being confusing, because a lot of people in that are your age and that are older don't know what they want to do in life. And sometimes you might meet a person that's your age that doesn't know what they want to do. I want to be into business management. I want to get into stock. I already have this set in mind. I love it. Some people might be like, this like high school group I hear doing research in my college campus. They're doing a little summer program doing research. Maybe they already said like, I want to go into science. I want to go into research, or I want to go into like somewhere in the medical field. It's like that's great for them, but at the end of the day, is I don't want you to judge or to compare yourself to them and be like, wow, they already figured themselves. They already know what they want to do in life. Wow, that's crazy. I don't want you to compare yourself to that. And another advice I could just say is if you're thinking about like, oh, like I know you said like, oh, I want to get into aerodynamics. Like maybe this is one thing I want to do. Maybe aerodynamics has a lot to do with physics. Maybe sign up for a physics course in your campus and see if this is something you like to do. Maybe search up, just explore like the possibilities right now since you're young. Search up a program like, oh, maybe if this is what I want to do, maybe an aerodynamic program for young adults, or maybe explore like, oh, if science, chemistry, research is something I want to do, or maybe sport focus, because that'll make that transition of figuring out what college major you want to be in college be a lot easier. But I guess at the end of the day, just to recap, is it's okay if you're lost. There's a lot of people in that same footsteps, and as you're pretty much growing up, coming of age, you'll figure that out. What you want to do. It may be a day, it may be weeks, or maybe months or years. But you'll figure it out. And there's even adults that are like 30s, 40s, coming back and realizing like, this is actually what I want to do in my life, and I want to come back and study. And it's all right, man.
Thank you for sharing again, Jordan. I had so much fun with you. I love talking to you today.
I wish it was in person, but it's all right.
Yeah, it's alright. Thank you for the viewers out there for tuning in today. Thank you again, Jordan, for being here.
Of course, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, this is amazing. Hope seeing you in the future, hanging out as well, cracking up jokes.
The Taking Off the Mask podcast is produced by Ryan Louie and graphics by Kelly Wong. Guests are managed by Dan Paloma, and the podcast is edited by Samuel Matingo. We'd like to thank everyone who's been a part of the creation of this podcast, and for every guest that has been a part of the show, you are now a part of the Taking Off the Mask family. The Taking Off the Mask podcast is brought to you by the Everforward Club, and if you like what you've heard today, please subscribe, write a 5-star review, and share this with someone. We look forward to having more conversations that matter. And please remember, there's more to you than anybody can see by just looking at you. Am I supposed to say Jordan's whole name? Jordan Placart. Like what name does he have on the thing? Oh my gosh. It's Jordan Baceres Placarte Eduarde Jordan Barragan Plancarte.